Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And it is time to showcase the terrible tragedy that is Inferno 3 Beatdown Battle. Always a fun time if you don't have the meta, and actually this one is pretty fun even if you do have the meta. And by fun I mean terrible, because this team is incomplete right now. So we have Velzard, we have Guy, we have Valentine. We are missing at least one more piece of the puzzle that will make this a joke, actually, because most of the beatdown battles, once you get the full team, they turn into a joke. But we have to make do with what we have right now. So technically, I've already cleared it. I've already done all the missions for it, but the first video we're going to show you is my first actual attempt at it with the meta team that I have built. So, and then after that, I have two alternate teams that you guys can maybe try, but remember, this is Inferno 3, and you're meant to have the meta. And if you don't have the meta, it's gonna be fun. So just please, grain of salt with this one, okay? So let's get started. Alright, so this is the first team I use. This is what I'm currently running as far as my meta team. We have Velzard, we have Guy, we have Light Millum for her attack buff, plus her orb stealing. We have the new Hero 2.0 because she can swap a Guy's ult for a normal orb, and therefore we can keep sending full sends of blues. And then Xion is our orange orb converter and also our crit damage buffer, and then Valentine is at the back to give us that extra protection gauge and for her buff and debuff on Guy. So this is probably, if you have the hero, this is probably pretty effective. If you don't have the hero, you could very easily bring Wind Trainee. If you don't have Light Millum, you could probably actually just bring Carrion if you wanted, since he has a temporary crit damage buff that will stack with Xion's permanent crit damage buff, and they both change oranges, so I mean, that's cool. But yeah, let's get this started. Guy takes care of your greens most of the time. He is kind of expensive, and you do have to use him turn 1, which kind of locks you out of using it turn 2 unless you get a perfect hand. So yeah, let's get started. Let's throw this on the screen. So turn 1 again, using Guy's orb change to get things done. And then we're going to bring in Valentine. Valentine's ult is important, but not like overly necessary, because you are going to lower his physical resistance by 15%, which is a pretty decent buff for an ult effect, really. Normally they're like 5%, but she does a lot of damage just because she is type advantage from Warrior's Mind and Velzard. Xion does 470%, which is technically more than what Valentine does, but her ult effect is trash because it, lowers counter resistance or something. So I find myself going more towards Valentine's ult for the debuff rather than Xion's single target. And if you can get Valentine's EX ult with Guy's EX ult, then obviously she's going to do 600% and do a lot more than what Xion's ever going to do. So here we go, turn 2. We got pretty lucky with the orb changing, and now we get kind of not as lucky. But we can use Millum to steal all those greens right here, which is kind of why I brought her. She's more like a water Rimuru in that sense, but without double orb changing skills. So we got 2 stacks on everybody. Now we're gonna bring in Millum for Valentine and keep sending full hands. And pretty much that's what you do until turn 8, when he loses his defense buff, which is big time. But he does ult you, I think, twice in between now and then, and he has magic resistance, which means that anybody who's magic is going to do just inherently less damage, and he has 100% pierce resistance, which means if you're a pierce-focused team in Inferno 3, it's not going to work. It's just not going to work. I tried. You do terrible damage. With EX3, we were able to do it, because he only has 70% resistance, and we used Albus to cut that down to 20. Alright, even if we used Albus here, it's still 50%, and that's too big of a nerf to even attempt to bring a Pierce team, so we're running with this. Thankfully, crits are back in style, which means that if you have the hero, you could use her, I guess, but Guy is giving people crits anyways, at least if you're using a correctly functioning Warrior's Mind team. So here we've used Velzard's extra alt gauge, so we can get 2 stacks right here, and we can keep buffing up our primary nukers without having to move everyone. Plus we have the full orb send, so we're looking pretty good. We just don't have any Guy orbs. So I think I leave it, right? Or do I swap him out? I think I swap him out. That way we can get him in for more orbs next turn. So we go ahead and send this, and then we're looking good. Turn 8 is again what we're shooting for. If you don't have Milim, again, you can bring Carrion. If you don't have the Hero 2.0, you can bring Trainee. Other than that, you might be able to bring like Space Rimuru, since Velzard is not overly specific. You can bring anybody who's physical, and they can get that extra damage buff, which is really, really nice. But here, we get a decent hand to steal, so there's that, and then we can go ahead and bring in, I think, the hero, is what I end up doing. I bring the hero in for Milim, and then I use her orb swap. Oh no, I just do that instead. Alright, never mind. And then I just use Guy's orb change. Okay, well that works too. I mean, either way, we have 4 orbs for Guy, so that's the important part. And we already have enough points for his orb change, so we're looking really, really good here. And then we bring the hero in for, I think, Milim, just to get her out, because she's best off in the back. And there we go, max points, 2 more stacks of Velzard. Technically, I mean, it doesn't really matter when you use Velzard's protection skill, just as long as you have one. Using it when you have 2 makes no difference than when you have 1, it's just that, can you get another one? It's just a handy little gimmick. It's not like the end of the world if you can or cannot get it. It just looks more impressive when you can use 3 in 1 turn, rather than 2. I don't know, it just feels special that way. So we have 2 more turns to go, and then we're going to do like over 1 million damage with Guy, and you don't need to do that much because we've been whittling him down ever so slightly this entire time. So let's see, what do we do? I think, yeah, we just gotta have to bring in Milim for Valentine and then run it. We can use the orb swap though. Ooh, we're being fancy here. Alright, so there's that. Do we run it? We might run it, hold on. Ooh, there we go. So we planned ahead because we had a green orb coming in for Valentine, so we sent a full 6 orb send with Valentine as the focus. That's why we swapped Guy out. Planned that, because I'm big brain. Unfortunately, that was a guard. So now I think we just chill, because we have enough points to use the nuke. We have 3 alts. We don't really need to do anything else except make sure that we have orbs to bring in for people. That's the most important thing. So I don't think I do anything right here. Jesus, cat. What am I doing here? Why am I slowing down? Zoom ahead. Come here. Alright, we bring Guy in to make sure that he has orbs. Cool. We don't even have an EX ult for him, which goes to show the power of this team, even incomplete. So we have triple ult, and then we're going to use everything. Do I swap someone out too? I do. I think I swap Xion all out for the other 2 units, because the hero is also going to give us that resistance down effect, which is really nice. So here is the physical buff and also the crit resist down on the enemy. Ooh, I swap Valentine out. So I go against what I've been talking about this entire fucking time like an idiot. Alright, well, that's what I get for recording this yesterday. Anyways, so we're going to go with our single target ults, because Valentine doesn't have her EX ult. Xion technically will hit harder. So there's the ult buff, the guaranteed crits, the attack buff for Milim, and then another stack of the crit damage from Xion. And then we go ahead and send it. I mean, we can orb change if we want. Cool. It doesn't really matter, because he's not going to live these 2 ults. So Xion does 306,000, and then Guy, without an EX ult, does 782, and then we kill with Xion's 54k orb right there. So that works pretty well, even without the EX ult. Of course, it's the meta, so what do you expect? But if you don't have the meta, or if you have a very, very incomplete meta, then what do you do? And there you can see my rewards for clearing it first time. Let's move on to an alternate team now. Alright, so the first alternate team that I can give you is once again stunning with Guy. The power of Guy continues to rise. He's still going to be level 80 because I don't need him for anything else but stunning, but that's just me. You can make him whatever you want. But as long as you have Guy, this is possible. So this is also assuming that you at least pulled Velzard. Alright? That's the only new meta character that this specific team requires. We have free-to-play Rimuru. We have Water Shuna for the alt buff and orange orb changing. Guy's again here for the stunning. And then Space Millum and Carrion are both underneath Velzard's skill, where she buffs Warrior's Mind and Dragon Hakai. So both of them can get the 12% stacks of attack over and over and over and over and over again until you can do enough damage to whittle him away. Carrion is also their orb changer. He's also gonna, he has his own attack buff alongside his crit damage buff, but no one on this team is giving us crit, so that's pretty wasted. And then Millum has the space buff, which will hit both of them, and then has the Drago effect, which will enhance any buff placed on her, including the permanent attack stacks that Velzard gives. And what the fuck is that sound? Okay, well, apparently the military is searching for someone. I don't fucking know. It was a giant military helicopter. Whatever. But, so, I recorded a lot of this gameplay for this run, but it wasn't the beginning of it. It was the end of the gameplay, because it's pretty basic. So this goes on for a while, though. So we're on turn 14 here, and ideally, this entire team, both these alternate teams, are based upon you orb changing into 6 blues pretty much every single turn, while still having enough points to stun with Guy, because you never want to take attacks from him. You never want him to have free turns, because he either hits you really hard, he ults you like he does here, or he just buffs his attack by 20, 60, 80, 100%, and then on that one time you can't stun, he's already got 100% attack buff, and then someone is dead. So really, really unfortunate here. Let's go ahead and speed this up, though. We're going to go hyperspeed now. So we're on turn 14, right? It's going to take a hot minute to get through it. But again, everything I just said applies. So here we've got ults, we're going to use them, we're going to stun, we're going to send everything, and it's just whittling him down. Because we can't do 700,000 damage with Guy. We can't do 1,000,000 plus damage with Guy. Because this is assuming you don't have Guy. Well, Earth Guy. You have a version of Guy. So here we go. Again, we get lucky. Full sends of blues gets us 293 points when you're capped out, unless you have a charm going that gives you extra skill points on blues, which I do not recommend for this team. For the alternate teams, I recommend healing charms. Whether it be the team-wide AoE charm, or the single target whoever has the lowest HP heal charm, one of those two is going to be necessary, because there's no freaking way you can live until turn 19 or beyond without healing a little bit, because there are times where you're not going to get lucky. You're going to get no blues, and you kind of have to just live with it, because you don't want to waste 100 points on a stun with no way to get it back. So you just kind of run with it, you send some alts, you send some greens, you send some oranges, and pray that you can get a better hand next time. So in those scenarios, you're going to take an attack or two. You're going to take an alt. He's going to buff himself. And healing back from that when you can stun him consistently is pretty much the only way to guarantee that you live, because this motherfucker also loves to counterattack. And you take 2 counterattacks, then you take an alt, and then he has a follow-up attack, and 2 people are dead. What do you know? There goes your run on turn 18. Not that it ever happened to me. Why? Why do you ask? I'm not bitter about it. Anyways, we're on turn 21. We have an alt that we covered up, the 1 Shuna orb with Guy. So here we can send 2 alts, whole bunch of blues, and you can see we're doing a lot of damage now. 36k on a 200% orb for Carrion is, when he's not like the super primary DPS of the meta, is pretty good. And we're whittling his health down just with normals and with random alts, because we've been buffing our attack forever with this. And so I think we're going to go all the way to the end now, because you don't need to see everything like that. So I think this is the next is the nuke turn. So here we go. Turn 25, Millum has 288% attack from all the stacks that we've been doing with Velzard. And now let's put the Drago on and the space buff, and now we're at 345% attack, which means that we're going to do heaps of damage, right? Right? We have the alt buff from Shuna, we have the space buff from Milim, we have the attack buff from Velzard's and Milim. 225k. That's not a lot, because this guy has 100% magic resistance. Carrion probably would have hit harder. Actually, he would have hit harder, because he's physical, because he had the space buff. He had just as many stacks. He didn't have maybe as much attack, but the offset from the magic resistance will cover the 100, or like the, what was it, the 60% extra attack that Milim got off of Verdrago effect. So he will probably do more damage, it just didn't need it. So I was doing way too much damage on normals by that time, because I probably could have nuked like 3 turns ago and I would have killed him with both alts. But there is the first alternate team. Again, it is focusing with Velzard, Carrion, and Milim. So the last alternate team I have, again, focuses on Guy and stacking protectors, but now we're going to use the water team. Full water, full magic team, but we're going to get 10, 20, 30, whatever the hell stacks we get with Milim, and we're going to buff Xion, Shuna, and Hinata to the point where we can overcome the magic resistance and just kill, just like we did with, Space Milim in the previous run. It's just that we don't have the Drago effect to give us an extra 60% attack, so we kind of have to make do with what we got. But the premise still remains the same of pray to God that RNGesus loves you, and you get some natural blues, and you could orb change them with Rimuru and Shuna. Thankfully, this team is actually easier to do, because we have natural orb changers who are also nukers, who are also, reliable. Because the last team, what was it over here? I mean, you did have Rimuru, you did have Carrion. Carrion is also the nuker right here. This team runs a little bit better, in my opinion, and I don't really know why. It just felt easier to do this, but it took an extra turn. So Hinata can buffer attack. The crit will come from Xion, because I think it's because we have more buffs, right? We have Xion's water attack, we have her guaranteed crits, and then 10% magic damage. And then Shuna's alt buff, Hinata's got her attack plus her crit damage. We can also get maybe 1, 2, or 2 stacks with Hinata's second skill, like extra 5% alt damage here and there. I wouldn't really focus on that since the orc doesn't have crit resistance, and any points that you use that are not a stun or an orb change are essentially wasted points. So let's go ahead and put the video up. We're already way deep into it because, again, the process is the same. We're already on turn 26, so this is just the nuke right here. So we've got 980 points, so we're almost to cap. And I think with the last space team, we were at the 999 cap. So that just goes to show how long we've been doing this. And I have attempted many runs. So we've got all the buffs. We don't have an ult with Xion, which is unfortunate, but we are at higher HP for the orc than we were last time. And Shuna does 201,000, and then Hinata does 349k. And that amount of HP the orc had was about 520. So we were just cutting it close, because if the alts hadn't killed, we had 3 follow-up orbs with Hinata, which were fully buffed, which is good. But I mean, that was a dangerous run. So this is the third alt team that you could possibly use to clear Inferno 3. Now, again, disclaimer alert is that yes, my units are very duped out. I have lots of good gear. This may not work for you even if you have the team, because your units are just far weaker. And for that, I say it's okay. It is okay, because the rewards you get for clearing Inferno 1, 2, and 3 really aren't that game-changing. They put the free Xion dupes into EX3, which is much easier. It's like a 700,000 HP difference in between EX3 and Inferno 1. It's ridiculous. But like for the first 2 Inferno stages, you get the skill fusion things, which, if you're a new player, you're not going to be able to do anyways. And then Inferno 3 is a rainbow moat, which, if you're a new player, you don't need that anyways, because none of your units are 100. So, and you probably don't have any extra shards. So the rewards you get from Inferno are much less important than beating EX and all the stages before it. So this is just for funsies. If you can do it, if you want to try it, go ahead. But those are the teams that I came up with that actually can clear it. It just heavily factors on stunning or having the meta. So once again, Guy Stonks, Rising every single meta. So if there's another team that you guys used to beat it that was not one of these or some variation of the new meta, let me know in the comments below. Maybe someone else can try it. Maybe I'll try it if it's really whack. Unless it took you like an entire day to do it, and then I might just skip it. But let me know. That's it from me. Take it easy, and I'll see you later.